Welcome to the Toronto Tug. This is our Tableau user group. We are so happy to have you all here. As you're trickling in, just some couple of starting notes for you all. Tonight we have wild and amazing content to share with you. I'm personally stoked to see what the people on our agenda have done and to learn. I hope you all are too. Please use the Q&A component. It looks like two little chat boxes to post all of your questions. One of my incredible Tug colleagues will be working those through. You also have the ability to upvote and answer the questions that are placed in there, plus they are all recorded for future use. So I would say let's do that. You'll have to excuse my lack of keyboard knowledge here. I've never really used PDFs anymore. So I'll be doing it the old-fashioned way by clicking the button. You probably know us by now, and in case you don't, we are 5 Vizzing superstars. Your Toronto Tug team includes myself, Catherine. I am not the Vizzing superstar, but Candice, Ojo, Vanitha, and Michael are. What we want to do here is really take our data community, expand it, have a place for you to network, and have a great rocking time tonight with us. We normally do Tugs every second or third month. And we've had quite a wild year so far, and we're hoping to continue it on this great path. We do have our hashtag here at the very bottom. It's hashtag Toronto Tug. If any of you guys like to do that LinkedIn or tweeting, or you can tell I am so bad at this stuff, you can just hashtag us, and Vanitha knows what to do with it. She's the best at this stuff. So tonight we have a couple of little agenda items we're going to do. I'm probably going to make us a bit late for our starting, so I apologize ahead of time. We're going to be doing some polling. We really want to get feedback from you, our incredible community, as to how we can make the Tugs better. We'll have a little 2-3 minutes on TC20, and then we have 3 incredible presenters. So we have Anjushree. She's going to be taking us through infographics. Samantha will be talking about how she helps society through data viz, and Jeff, who is a resident Tableau superstar, also a Tableau employee, ding, 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 ding. He's going to be talking about new features coming up in versions of Tableau. So that's pretty exciting for all of it. We're going to start our polling now. I'm going to leave up the screen for a moment. If you can navigate to this site, it's up on the, I can't even like it, etch.ch/CMFC. We're going to be doing some fast polling. It should just take a couple of minutes, and it'll help us figure out our future with the Tug and what we want to do. I guess my question will be, Candy, can you post the link to that in the chat for everybody so that maybe it's easier for them to click it in the chat?
Yeah, I think I can post it in the chat. I think I did post it at the top, but I'm going to post it again just so yes, everybody sees it top of. Just one sec.
I saw a raised hand, but I have no idea what that means, nor how to fix it for you. So can you type any question you have into Q&A, please? Sorry. I'm not super awesome at this, nor do I see even, how do I see the raised hand? This is very confusing.
Okay, sorry, just one second. I'm having a moment with my paste function. Just one sec here. Let me grab the.
It's going to happen to the best of us.
Right. Happens to all of us. There we go. There is the site. So if you, as Catherine navigates away from her slide, if you need the site, you can just pick it out of the chat.
Okay, and should I go there as well, Candy, or go to the other one?
No, you go to the results one that I sent you.
Okay, I'm just going to click to that one.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Great.
So people are already voting.
Yay!
So we'll give you a few minutes to vote on the, so we've asked some basic questions this time, and then we're just kind of testing out this feature. And then we will, I've seen some other tugs have some fun with it and ask some kind of goofy questions. So
these are good things to raise hands. Again, Christina S., not sure how to help you out.
okay, raised hands.
I'm sorry. If it's a question, can you pop it in the Q&A?
I can pop it in the Q&A, but then you have to go to the site to vote. So to have your vote counted, you need to.
I see we have some new people joining. I just want to let the people who are joining, if you go into the chat, we're just doing some quick polling for the tug. If you don't mind going to the polling link, we will do that there. I only see 15 votes here, but I do see 39 participants. So if we don't mind popping up and getting a bit more voting in, it really will help us out for our future tugs. We want to make sure they're relevant and interesting to you, not to help put you to bed, but to help, you know, excite you for the future of visiting here.
Catherine, can you release the waiting list? Do you see it?
I have no idea how to do that. How
Okay,
do
if
I
you go
do
to
this?
the participants, there should be
Okay.
there should be like admit people.
I don't see that at all. I don't know how to do this. I see. Hold on. I honestly do not see this. I just see a panelist and a tab and an attendees tab, and that's it. Sorry, gang, technical difficulties. We can viz, but we can't operate a Zoom call. Lisa
weird.
can make you laugh a little bit, but honestly, yes, I don't know how to do this. Are people having trouble getting in? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me, I don't know how to stop sharing. Maybe I can do it in this mode. I do not see an option. Is there any way to contact Melissa?
I will email her.
Okay. I will just pause the recording. And let's get back to sharing screen. And we will go back to our poll. Just for those of you who may be coming in, hopefully you have access via your chat box of the link that we need to go to. We're doing some polling just for future tugs. In case you need it again, I'm not really sure how this totally works. And I can't seem to paste. Weird. Okay, I can't paste it at all. Candy, do you also have this issue?
You
know what?
Paste the link in again?
Yes, just for the new folks in case they can't scroll up.
Yep. Oh, okay. Yep, I will paste it again.
Thank you.
Of course.
Now I'm really happy, gang, that I'm not sharing my video. You would have seen me sweating. Quite uncomfortable and unpleasant. Let's give it like 20 more seconds on this question, and we can move on to the next.
Yeah, just let me paste in the link, and then I will advance the question.
Perfect.
Okay, next question. You should see a new question now. Hopefully. Yeah. Yay.
Oh, good. I'm liking this already.
Lots of people going to the conference. Awesome.
Oh, wow. Very good. I'd like to see this number jump up even more. Yes. Candy, do you mind pasting the link again, please? There you go, Nala. Right, let's give it maybe another minute on this one, and then we'll keep moving forward.
Okay, seems that most people have voted. Yeah, okay. So let's, there's just one last question.
People are saying they're not seeing the link in the chat. Oh, maybe because they're just joining. That's
Yep.
Oh, thank you to that person who gave us a 5. ping me later. Later. We'll just get you a Timmy's gift card. But be honest here with this question, folks. It really is important to us to know if you think we're doing well and bringing you quality content. And if not, we are always open to criticism, honestly. And you can email us and let us know, because we want this to be very good for you.
Okay, looks like most people have voted, Catherine, so I guess we can move on from that. Thanks, everybody, for our trial on the poll. We'll try to make that work a little smoother next time.
Yeah, but it's still good. It's still good. We're getting there. This is important. Thanks, everyone, for doing the poll. Thank you, Candy, for leading it. I definitely can barely handle the PDF, so I don't think I would have been able to handle the poll as well. But on to a more interesting-ish topic. It will go with the ish component of the conference. So we're here to talk to you about Tableau Conference 20. I don't know about you all, but I am actually quite excited for this. This will be my first Tableau conference that is completely virtual and also added bonus free. So I'm hoping all of you can at least take some time to learn more about the conference, and if you're interested in it, to register. Registration doesn't necessarily mean that you have to attend absolutely every component of the conference. You should try to attend anything that is interesting to you or that you'd like to learn about. because this is a magnificent opportunity that's been presented to us from Tableau. And it would be rather lovely if people do take full advantage of it. The conference itself will run from October 6th to 8th, and it will run from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. in Pacific time, so that's noon till 6 p.m. here in the Eastern time zone. I did see that for any Uber nerds out there like myself, Neil deGrasse Tyson will be doing some form of a presentation. I did scream a little bit when I saw this. Very, very, very exciting. I suspect there will be quite a few other large names that will be joining us, and lots of content to learn. I highly recommend that if you have an opportunity or are able to do register for the conference, try to attend what you can. Of course, there's going to be the crowd favorites like Iron Viz this year, and some other sweet things. I think I put here a sample schedule. Obviously, the keynote from the president, Adam Selipsky, is always quite fantastic. He's an engaging speaker. There's always definitely many sessions on what's coming up in Tableau. These are all really good. The schedule just went live yesterday, I believe. So if you're interested in things like brain dates and Tableau doctor visits, these are the times to book it now. The rest of the sessions are all virtual, so I believe the cap for any session will be rather high. So there should be lots of room to attend all of the things that you're quite interested in. So again, if you want or if you're considering going to TC, check it out. If you are going to TC, the full catalog and schedule is launched, so take some time and look at that. Now, as part of TC and as part of our TUG, we are looking to do a TC20 wrap-up session. So we're going to be looking for you, our community members, to want to, who may be inclined towards participation, to talk about your TC20 experience. We'll be asking anyone who wants to volunteer to speak for about 5 minutes on the things that they enjoyed at TC and any key things that they learned and they want to share with others. If you're interested, you can reach out to any of your core Toronto TUG team or specifically to Candy. She will be amalgamating our speakers list, but it's a great way for us to get to meet you and for you to get to share your experience with others. So I hope some of you on the call today will be really interested in doing that. Now we're going to get to the core of what every TUG is all about. Show me the good. Anjushree BV, she is quite fantastic, and tonight she's going to be talking to you about infographics, a new way of data storytelling. She's a data viz and Tableau enthusiast, and really she uses a lot of Tableau best practices and builds incredibly innovative dashboards. She's currently working at Altus Group as a senior BI analyst, where she creates tons of dashboards there for executive and clients, all within the real estate industry. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Anjushree, take it away, girl.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for having me today. Good evening, everyone. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know when you can see Catherine.
Yep, it's up.
Good evening, everyone. So as Catherine mentioned, I work as a senior BI analyst at Altus Group currently. Prior to this, I've worked for Ernst & Young for 5 years, both in New York and Bangalore. I'm a total data visualization and data art lover. You can definitely see that on my Tableau public profile. So I've had Viz of the Day twice last month. In my free time, I am a happy doodler. You can kind of see me making lots of doodles all the time. So I will straight away start sharing my Viz of the Day. I'm having some trouble in here.
There we go. We see your Tableau public page.
Yeah. The Viz, can you see that the Viz now?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, great. So in May, when Viz for Social Good was joining hands with Kiran for a project, I found it very interesting also because my interest lies in the love for data sets. I do a lot of personal projects as opposed to community challenges because I like curating my own data sets and doing the digging and scraping on my own. So when Kiran said that they're doing a project for migration of refugees and IDPs, I was really interested because they gave us like two options, either to use the data sets that they have given or to kind of come up with our own data set and tell a story that we wanted to. And that's when I chose to visualize about the situation going on in Bahamas. So there was the Hurricane Dorian hit, and then there was massive internal migration going on. So as you can see in this infographic, I've tried to make the impact um, more about Bahama by putting the title as per the flag. Like if you see the Bahama flag, they have the triangle black piece going on with yellow and blue. Uh, I try to portray that in this part of the graph as well. So Bahama in itself, it's so beautiful that I wanted to keep the map very articulate, yet to the colors of their flag. And I use a lot of map box styling to kind of get the effect. On the map, I'm kind of showing all the active settlements and how many people had their shelters in there during the storm. In here, I have a chart showing that that was the highest number of IDP when the storm has hit. Prior to that, the numbers were significantly low compared to the Hurricane Dorian. And in here, I have like big bands saying how many kind of had the cross-border migration and how many were internal and how many settled into the active settlements. I'm a firm believer of letting the user choose what they want to see and providing them action items or interactivity only if they choose to see. So here I have the impact of this migration on various fronts. So the user could choose which one they want to select and then kind of updates on its own. It's a similar kind of interactivity even here. So there were different kinds of communities that were affected by this storm, and the major ones were Bahamians and the Haitians because most of them were deported due to illegal work permits, and Bahamas has lots of other nationalities. So I just kind of mentioned that where did they fled and what approach they kind of took it. Now, going on to my visualization of the day. This was the human disease network that I created. So basically, it's telling me what when a disease is connected to different kinds of genes and how a particular disease is associated to another disease and the genes common between them. And I chose to plot them on a network plot because that was the best way I could portray which disease is connected to which one and the genes that are responsible for that particular disorder. And I also kind of mentioned the number of disorders that I've taken up and the diseases and the genes that are connected to. Here, I mentioned that the largest bubble would be the main disease and the smallest one would be their associated disease. And the small yellow bubble that you would see would all be different kinds of genes. So again, in here, you can kind of highlight the disorder that you want to see. I'm just going to put cancer. So in case if you see here, this is leukemia, and it tells me that it's connected to 37 different genes and has 26 associated diseases that can cause uh, or have like symptoms that can finally cause leukemia. And this one is colon cancer. So you have the added interactivity if the user chooses to kind of go on to a particular disease and have more knowledge about it. Again, if someone wants to know how this network graph was made, it's not entirely in Tableau. You could do it with Tableau, but it becomes too much complicated to plot your X and Y coordinates. I've used the tool called Gephi to plot my points, but the rest calculations and the other manipulations are done in Tableau. So my next VOTD was this one. So here I'm basically visualizing the 100 years of meteorites that we have had. And it's very astonishing to know that there were 663 of them in the 100 years. So I have a small classification going on here with the colors. It's stony iron and stony iron. So every circle is a meteorite, and I start from here from 1920 and it ends at 2020 here. So every dot is a meteorite, and based on the calculations, and the size represents the mass. So it's good to know that half of them are less than 3 kgs, and I mentioned those metrics over here, and most of them are of stony kind of structures. Even at the below, I have like an sorry, Tableau renders it very slowly. Right. And at the below, I have like an area chart giving me which year had the most of the meteorites, and it was like 1933. If you hover over each meteorite, I give small details as to what their name was, at what location they were, and what the mass was, and which year the meteorite was. And also there's an interactivity. If in case I wanted to see this, I click and the map in here updates to this location. I've also used the non-de-highlighting so that the map comes back and you don't have those gray circles going on when you select an object. On top, I have a map with every meteorite kind of plotted onto it, and you can see most of them are in US and Asia parts. Yes, so these two were my VOTDs, and the one for WIS for social good. Over to you, Catherine. If anyone has some questions, I'll take that up.
Just a reminder, if you do have questions, use the Q&A component, because those are a bit more easy to track for us, and we're also able to answer them, and they're part of our recording as well. I'll start it up. So what inspired you to get into infographics? I love your work. I find it completely inspiring, although I have no clue how you did it. But what inspired you to get there?
So infographics, I should actually say that I don't like the corporate style dashboards. If I can take that as inspiration to move towards infographics. And I also like data journalism a lot, the way they tell a story through just one shot. People can grasp the numbers easily, and it's very easy for even for a layman to understand what the story is, how the metrics are. So that is what has taken me towards the infographics side.
There's also a question in the Q&A from Andrew L. Did you have a design background, or is this something that you've picked up along the way?
No, I don't have a design background, but I do put in a lot of effort on the color, the font, and things like that. I've just picked it up along the way. I think being part of the community teaches you more about these small elements as well. So that's a great way to learn as well.
Awesome. Okay, I think we hit the questions in the Q&A. Thank you so much for that amazing presentation. I love it, and I could totally watch you present over and over and over again.
Thank you, Catherine.
I gotta figure out how to share my screen again. Sorry, gang. All right, cool. Thank you again for that. Again, amazing. I love it. I love it so much. Like, it's exciting for me. You make me so happy inside. And now another person who's going to also share an incredible story, Samantha. Samantha is a data analyst. She's worked so many years in the software industry. It says here over 6. She's also worked in the tech industry in India, and she's recently moved to Toronto. She does a lot of work for Viz for Social Good, and that's really what she's going to be talking to you about here today, how she's helping others through her data visualization work. She does have spare time. This is even better. Please, Sam, share those secrets with us, especially me, because I do not know how you have spare time, but I want to get there. So she likes to read, and she reviews the fiction books for authors and publications. Super cool. Sam, tell us a bit about yourself and show us your work.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Samantha Gonsalves, and I am a data analyst with about 6 years of experience in the IT industry. Since the start of my career, I have worked mainly on technologies like SQL and SAS. Only recently I have moved to the BI side of things, and last year I was introduced to Tableau and Power BI, and I was interested in those tools, and I started learning more about them since then. Coincidentally, that was also the time when I first came across the Viz for Social Good platform, the website. They had a project on there for Furniture Bank, and that got me really excited. As someone who has benefited from Furniture Bank because I was their customer, it also helped me put to perspective the impact that these organizations have on people. So the experience of working with data from that organization made the experience all the more richer for me. Circling back to Viz for Social Good, VSFG is a nonprofit that launches a project and provides data from other nonprofits. It also provides a call to action so that volunteers can do what they do best, that is create data visualizations and help these nonprofits generate some insights and uncover some trends. For today, I would like to showcase 2 of my visits that I have worked on for VSFG. But before I do that, I would like to go through the process that I follow with each of these projects. VSFG generally uploads all their data sets to the website in a CSV format. My first focus is on cleaning those data sets. I usually use Microsoft Excel to clean these data sets up because they tend to be a little dirty, and so things like inconsistencies in data, misspellings, and missing data, those kind of things. Once the data set is cleaned, I import it into Tableau Public. I play around with different charts to understand how the data is shaped and what charts would best suit the information that I'm trying to convey. Once I understand it, the rest of it gets pretty simple. I add those charts onto the dashboard, add some interactive elements to filter out the data. I add some design elements, put the link to the nonprofit, and I also try to include a takeaway point for each of the charts so that they are self-explanatory in nature. The first wish that I would like to present is for Quran. So Kiran is a nonprofit that provides free learning opportunities to migrants. Kiran, for this project, Kiran didn't really have any hard fast rule as to what data set to use. We were free to use any data set that we chose to. So I mainly downloaded my data from websites like Hum Data, that is for humanitarian data exchange, and UNICEF. My first two charts in here show the distribution of migrants and refugees worldwide. The deeper the color, the more number of refugees in that particular location. To add some context to it, I also have a bar chart next to it that show the top 20 countries for these refugees. Moving on to the next chart. Once I started researching about this project, I saw that there were many children affected by displacement and by the refugee crisis. So I analyzed some data from there as well. As you can see, the number of children that are shown in light blue are makes up almost half the amount that were the total number of refugees. So this was a horizontal bar chart that I wanted to show, which basically denoted the number of children that made up the migrants. This data is only for 2018. Moving on to the next three charts, actually, they're not very pleasant. It's not a very pleasant thing to talk about, because this talks more about deaths of migrants and the reasons why they do not survive. However, I believe that it is important to know about data such as this to make people aware of the hardships that they face and the harsh realities in their everyday life. So this first chart basically shows the number of migrants that survived the ordeal and the number of migrants that have not. Most in the first Mediterranean region, you can see that most of the migrants have survived, but the other regions like North Africa, the Sub-Saharan African region, US-Mexico border, the migrants were not as lucky. I also took this data of the number of deaths of migrants and broke it down into how many were male, which is denoted in blue, how many were female, that is in pink, the number of children shown in yellow, and unknown number, which is a gray bar. The last chart again is, like I said, an unpleasant number to show the causes of death for these migrants. As you can see, drowning, presumed drowning, and sickness or lack of access to medicines, something that is quite normal for us. We are fortunate enough to have is causing a death for someone else who is not as fortunate as us. So this was the last chart for this visualization. The entire motive of creating this visualization for me was to showcase the hardships faced by these migrants.
Samantha, if you don't mind, there's a question on that visualization. PK saw 3 bars for Latin America and Caribbean. So is that because of data quality, or?
Yes, that is because of data quality. So these are, I think you're talking about these.
Yes.
Yep. So yeah.
Yes.
And if you hover over them, you can see that they're sort of different, high income and excluding high income. So this was a data set that I got from UNICEF. So the raw data that I got wasn't like the best of qualities. I had to do a lot of cleaning, and despite that, some things get missed out.
Oh, so the Latin America and Caribbean, they're slightly different though. They're
Yes,
high income,
yes,
low
they are.
income, and okay.
Yes, they're broken down.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. The next project is the latest project that I have worked for, is on Academics Without Borders. AWB is a Canadian nonprofit that helps students and universities in emerging nations by sending them teams of experts. So for example, teams from Canadian universities go over to the benefiting universities in these emerging nations to help them with educational programs. For the purpose of this project, I created 5 charts in total. The first 3 charts show countries benefited. The second one shows universities benefited. And the third one shows volunteering institutes. All these 3 charts have data across all the years, but in case you want to drill down and see the data for each specific year, I have provided a filter over here. So for the on first glance, I have kept this view to be quite simple with bar charts where the countries are ordered in terms of the projects that have been undertaken. But on hovering over these bars, you can get some more context into the projects that were held by AWB. So for example, in this, you can see Kenya benefited from 22 projects, and you can see the breakup of these 22 projects in terms of discipline. Similarly, on hovering over the bars of these other charts, you can see the number of projects as well as the breakup. For this, I have used the visualization, the feature that lets you put a visualization in a tooltip. So that helped me add some more context to the information I was trying to convey. The third chart, like I said, is volunteering institutes. This contains only the top 10 universities, and on hovering over it, you can see the breakup and the discipline as well. My last 2 charts are more simpler in nature and static. The first one is a bubble chart that shows the popular disciplines across all years. From this chart, you can see medicine was a really popular discipline where AWB had 36 projects, followed by 13 with computer science and 6 with public health and nursing. On hovering over these other bubbles, you can see the number of projects for each of the other disciplines as well. And for my last chart, I have a simple line graph that shows the number of projects that AWB has had over the years since they've started in 2010 up till very recently in 2020. This is a simple line graph, but on hovering over each of these data points, you can see the breakup of these projects across countries and the disciplines. For this too, I added visualization in the tooltip to add more context to the visualization that I was trying to make. So these are the 2 visualizations that I wanted to share. If you have any questions or suggestions for my visualization, I'm more than happy to take them.
Okay, Samantha, PK has another question. He said, who is the audience for the Kiron presentation and what action items have come out? If you knew or...
So the audience for this visualization, I would say, is it could be anyone. It's not specific because Kiron is mostly positioned towards providing education. I did not add any of that in here, but I got the idea of, you know, displaying what the problems the migrants are facing and things that I have not thought of before in my everyday life. So these are some insights that I wanted to show.
Somebody else had a question too. What's the format of the dashboard that you use? Dashboard size.
I generally tend to do use the default size, but in some cases I have tweaked that a little bit in case I find my you know, charts to be that need to be a little wider or longer. But I generally go with the default size with the dashboard.
So I have a quick question myself too, since I have a mic. Sorry, everybody. But so do you do a lot of visits for social good, or are there some that inspire you more than others? Like that you see, like that you could, that really, you know, you're really curious about what the data says, or?
I'm curious about the data, yes. And I have worked on about 5 projects for VSFG till date, and I'm currently working on the 6th one, which is Bridges to Prosperity. Each of these data sets and organizations are so different, and they give you so many different you know, perspectives to life itself. It gets me thinking sometimes. So I generally want to participate in these events and create visualizations. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yeah, thanks, yeah, of course.
Absolutely fantastic, Sam.
Thank you.
I'm a little bit disappointed that you didn't present your, the one for Sunny, was it Sunnyside or?
Yeah, Sunny Street. It was Sunny Street.
Sunny Street. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, because that one was so pretty, but I know we gave you limited time. So we have one final question. Can the presenters comment on the most challenging aspects of creating a viz and what steps they might recommend to overcome those challenges? So I guess that's for both of you if you wanted to.
For me, since I'm quite new, I consider myself quite new still to Tableau. I find it quite challenging to choose what visualization to use to convey my data. I'm not really, I'm just getting familiar with reading complex charts like radial charts and network diagrams, those sort of things. So that is at this point in time quite challenging for me, but I hope to work on that and overcome that with the help of the community.
Anjushree, did we lose you?
I was just going to ask.
Oops, so not sure.
Okay, well, maybe Anjushree can, if she wants, she can type her question into the chat, her answer into the chat.
Yeah, I could answer. Could you guys?
Oh, you were there. Okay, good.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry, I've been bandwidth troubles. Yeah, so for me, the most challenging aspect is to crunch my data set when there are like millions of data, and what is that data that the user wants to see. And most challenging part is the interactivity, because you obviously don't want to put a lot of data into one dashboard, and you want to let the user have their own flow, because every user, how they want to analyze a particular story is very different. So that is one challenge that I've always faced. And the other one, when you are particularly using complex charts or radial or network charts, having in mind who your user or the audience becomes a real challenge. If they are layman and maybe not into BI background, it kind of can get very difficult using radial charts with them. So yeah, those would be the challenges that I have faced in my data viz journey, I would say.
Awesome.
Okay, well, that's really good to know. And I hope everyone on the call has been able to take something away from these incredible stories and differences. I'd like to invite you all to take some time and follow Samantha and Anjushree BV by using their Tableau public pages. We can keep following them as they're creating new content and sharing incredible stories. Thank you for taking the time to speak to our TUG tonight. I really appreciate and respect you both for doing that. It's quite a big deal. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
We just want to have our pleasure, guys. It's just a quick shout out for Viz for Social Good. There is a project that is wrapping up, Bridges to Prosperity. If you want to find out more about it, visit vizforsocialgood.com or Google that. There's also a free wrap-up event for their most recent project that will showcase some awesome vizzes that were created. We've put the link up here, and it will be available afterwards for you to take a look. But I'd love to invite you all to attend this event and check out more incredible vizzing work that has made a difference in the lives of others. And with that, we're bringing ourselves to our last speaker of the day. He's probably known to some of you on the call. We've had the pleasure of knowing Jeff Nicholson for quite some time. He is a principal solution engineer at Tableau, obviously a data lover, sadly an Oilers fan, and a good thing he's a music junkie and he lives here in the GTA. He's had 15 years experience as an analytics professional, providing cool solutions to different enterprises within Canada and obviously to some of our government agencies. Jeff, welcome to the Toronto TUG this evening. How are you?
I'm well, thank you for the kind words. And thanks to our previous speakers. That's some amazing and inspiring work that you're doing using Tableau. That was really a real treat to see. Just want to make sure everybody can see my screen here. Am I sharing right now?
Yeah, it's coming up, and nice picture, by the way.
Perfect. Yeah, so it's good to put a name to a face. I'm still not there yet to have the video thing working. I don't prefer to be anonymous, but that's me. There's a lot of familiar faces on the call, so hello to everyone. It's great to be with you on our virtual TUG. It's been a while since I attended one of these, so it's great to be here on a beautiful fall evening. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jeff. I cover financial services now. I've had done some work in the government space with Tableau, been in BI for quite a while, analytics for most of my career. I work with a great team here in Toronto. A lot of you on the phone know Steve Palermo, account manager, Kirk Monroe, customer success manager, and myself as the solutions engineer. I'm the demo dolly guy. I'm privileged to be with you tonight to walk you through what's new in 2020.3. So this was a release that came out in August. I think it was mid-August. We have a very ambitious cadence. We usually get 3 or 4 releases, mostly 4 a year. So this one was right on time. And as always, there's just a number of things that we can show you. So I cover the enterprise space. I have a lot of large financial services organizations and firms. They have a lot of Tableau users. So my smallest customer is probably around 5,000 users. My largest one is, over 20, closer to 30. So, there's a big focus in my space on kind of being enterprise, but also just reaching every user that wants to engage with analytics. And I think we've done a really good job on that over the last few releases, especially with Tableau Server, through a browser and engaging users to be able to get, something out of analytics. not just the visualization, but more automation, more ability to understand more information about what's behind the scenes, whether it's the data, the metadata, et cetera. So there's been a real focus on that over the last, I would say, 3-4 releases for sure. So I'm going to highlight some of those, and along the way we'll cover some other great features as well, investments in innovation that we've made. So let's see if we can switch the slide here. Sometimes when we're out to see customers and people that use Tableau, and we're talking about innovation and new releases, this is kind of like the shock and awe slide that we give. So there's a new one that comes out from our marketing team every release, and this is the one for 2020.3. And it's really amazing. There's over 30 or so brand new features for this particular release, and they cover everything from the people that prep the data to the people that model it to of course your authors. I know there's a lot of authors on here that are really skillful, building beautiful visualizations, as we just saw from our first two presenters. And then, the lion's share of the users, especially in my space, is the viewers, or the people that consume it, right? So, how can they engage better, and how can they, leverage Tableau better, with capabilities that are embedded into Tableau that are more than just viewing that beautiful dashboard. So I'll show you a couple of those. There's some other sort of niche pieces around mobile development and even data management that I'll touch on as we go through here as well. I'm going to start with, start with your strengths. Lead with your strength. I think that's a good place to start, and I was always given that advice when I was a kid. I think the ability to write to a database in Tableau Prep is a real game changer, and I know that word is thrown around a lot, but it's probably my favorite feature from this release. And I'm going to walk you through that example. So I'll just move this over here really quick. Just before I do that, I always sort of throw this out at the start of these types of presentations. So if you Google Pace of Innovation Tableau, you're going to be taken to your All Releases tab, where they're going to have the latest release of the Tableau version. Looks like I'm running a little slow, guys. Hopefully, we tested this before we went, but hopefully we don't get a hiccup here. But if you just type in Pace of Innovation Tableau, you're taken to the latest release, and it's going to show you all the features associated with this release. So, like I said, there's a lot of them. They satisfy all the different user communities within the Tableau platform. But this is a really good place to start to just kind of get a little bit of insight into, what the release is, what it does. There's a number of blog sites out there, a number of vlog sites out there, a number of Tableau champion sites out there that you can get more information, as well as our website as well. But I'm going to walk you through some that just stood out for me for this release. So let's start with the first one, and this is the right to the database feature in Tableau Prep. So more and more, and we heard this from our speakers previous to me today, more and more emphasis on the preparation of the data and getting the data into a state where we can consume that analytics. So I'm in Tableau Prep right now, and if I open up my flow, just a recent flow here, you can see that I won't go through all the steps here, but we've got a prep flow that we put together with a number of different data sources. We've done some unioning, we've done some cleansing, and we've done some joining. And at the end of the day, we've got a few outputs here, and you can see these outputs. This one, traditionally, in the past, we would take this great flow, this manipulation of data that we put together to put into a state where we could consume it easily in an accurate manner. And we could do that in a couple ways. We could write to a file, like a CSV, or we could actually publish that data source as an extract up the Tableau server. So the new piece, which everyone's very excited about, is being able to publish that to a database. So, when you have Tableau Prep and you're writing that output to a database table, you're starting to leverage the process that, your IT team, your governance team has set up. They spend a lot of money, a lot of time making sure that data is in an orderly state, follow certain process and rules, governance, auditing, security, et cetera, et cetera. So, being able to publish that data there where it fits into that sort of process is super powerful. So I'm just going to write this to a local database that I have. So basically you just select the output, which I'm going to say database table, and I'll select the server, which I've got a local Microsoft SQL server here. We'll just punch in the address. It's my laptop, and we'll sign into that. And it's going to ask you to select a database. So I'll just select our trusty Superstore, and we're going to enter in a table name here. So I'll just say new flow, and we'll select that. So obviously you need to have certain permissions here. You know, they probably go very close to sort of CRUD type, the acronym create, read, update, delete access to be able to write to a database and, you know, create the tables and whatnot. But there's some other things that you need to be aware of too, whether or not the table exists. In this case, it doesn't, so I'm going to create it. You also have the ability as an administrator here, or someone who builds this flow, to either append the data or replace it. So those are obviously two different things, so keep that in mind. But you know, great options here. I'm going to create the table, so it's going to write that. I've got update permissions on that database. I'm going to run the flow, and it's going to grab the data. Instead of writing that to a CSV or an extract, it's going to pull these columns that I've created, generate the rows, write that back to the database, and we're done. And if I minimize that and go take a look at my SQL server, you'll see that's the database that we wrote to, that I have permission to. And if we take a look at the tables, I'll just update that and refresh that, and we should have our new flow. So there's the new flow that we created with Tableau Prep. It's now in a state of governance, and it's following a process. It's administered by my IT team. You know, there's access control and auditing on it. And, you know, this is a great way to sort of embed the ability, the value that Tableau Prep gives you to manipulate and manage and join and merge and match your data, but also put it in a nice governed state that matches your company's information. So that's a little bit on Tableau Prep. And you know, along the way, if you have questions here, please feel free to enter those in the chat. So I'm going to keep going on these instead of just going full screen on this PowerPoint slide. It's just easier to have it like this. So forgive me for not a lot of finesse here, but it's easier to switch back and forth between showing you and just showing your PowerPoint slides. So a couple other things that I want to touch on the server side with respect to deployment. We've got a couple things where we can actually grant a new user a license based on their sign-in. So there's been a lot of back and forth between teams when a new user needs to use Tableau, and there's emails sent, and there's a lot of administration effort and a lot of productivity lost getting that user ready, sending them the username and password, however you do that, usually through email. The back and forth can be exhaustive as you start to scale out to, you know, hundreds of users, right? So we've got a new grant license on sign-in. So if you use like an Active Directory login, you could just use the same user ID and password that you log in normally to various systems within your organization. And the administrator on the other side, on the Tableau server side, can set that up. So when you log in, you're immediately granted the right access, and you log in automatically using your own credentials. So it's super powerful. Let me show you that really quick. So if we go over to Tableau server and we go down to the users, I've created a user here from our business operations team, let's say. So we called it BizOps user, and you'll notice that they're unlicensed. So at any given point, you can have new users that come in through Active Directory synchronizations, or you just create that user, and you know, you can give them a site role immediately. In this case, they're unlicensed; they're not using a license of Tableau. If I go down to the group, I've also created a business operations grouping and put that user in as unlicensed. Now, if you go back to that group, there's a new tab here, which will get some administrators on the call excited. We can just go to the minimum site role. There's a new checkbox here that says grant role on sign-on. So any user within that group, you can assign them a particular site role. So whether it's viewer, explorer can publish, et cetera. Then when they log in, they're off to the races. There's none of this back and forth. So a lot of our customers align these groupings with their Active Directory groupings. This thing starts to get a rhythm and automation. It's very powerful. So very excited about that. For your administrators, it's going to cut down a lot of work for you. Lots of back and forth. What else do we have here? I'm not going to go through every one. Obviously, these slides will be made available to you. You can check the Pace of Innovation Google out. That takes you to the Tableau release site to dig into these in more detail. These are just ones that I picked out that I kind of feel are exciting and innovative and really want to share with you. If you followed our last couple of releases, you know that there's a new relationship improvement. It's kind of, you know, there's two sides to this. Some people love it. Some people it's growing on them, but it is very powerful in terms of the information that it can deliver back to the user at runtime, in terms of the different data sources it can deal with without creating things like LODs. Relationships are great when you have two different data sources at different levels of detail. That's the biggest use case that I see out there. But they've previously been limited to just sort of like an equa join type relationship. It's not a join, it's a relationship. So let me give you a use case here. If I open up Tableau, I've got a business problem where I've got a sales rep who, throughout the given course of time, every month has sold some software. So you can see the sale amount for each respective month. But over time, they've also moved to different teams, and this is very common in analytics. It's commonly referred to as slowly changing dimension type use case, where you might have, let's say, an employee or a person that lives in different cities, and you would like to track them over time. These are very common problems that we have. So what happens if I just do the join on the employee sales information, you can see that James Pollard has joined many teams here. So over the course of his selling, over those 7 months, he's been on 3 teams. So here you've got a join, and you can see that the structure is an equal join between employee ID. Well, that's not really going to give us correct information. What it does is it duplicates that data. So James was on 3 teams, poor James, throughout the course of his selling year. And what it did was it duplicated all those data for each team. So it's not exactly what we want, but relationships are a little bit different. At runtime, it takes the instructions that you give it. There's some intelligence built into Tableau. It makes an assumption given the relationship that you've defined, as opposed to a join, which is hard-coded. Relationships can fluctuate and give you different results back, depending on the dimensions that you use in the visualization when you build it. But I'm going to add to that. So previously, you could only use the equals operator. But now what we could do is we could actually finesse that join to go, look, we want a finite period of time to figure out where James was and what team he was on during the course of that selling year. So I'm just going to grab the month, and you'll notice on the other table, you've got a start and an end date, so that's great. So I'm just going to use the new operators that are available to you. So we'll just do greater than or equals to our start date. We'll close that. And then we'll just add another one that sort of puts a nice bookend around it to say the month is going to be, in this case, less than or equal to the end date on that team. And we'll close that. So now we've got this, this ability to present a relationship to Tableau. And then at runtime, you're going to get a different result set back. So previously this was, very challenging to do. It was a lot of work. You could do it in Tableau Prep. It wasn't fun to do, but you could. You probably would have to do it in the database. So from an analytics point of view, being able to do this in 3 or 4 clicks is great. And now we're following James as he tracks through different teams throughout the course of the year. So that's pretty awesome. It's a really great, slowly changing dimension use case. Okay. So that's relationships. Let's take a look at our next one. For the authoring crowd, there's probably a lot of you on here. Wanted to show you a couple innovations that I think are pretty cool. If anybody writes SQL in here, you've probably used the in operator before. It's very powerful. It also saves you a lot of time when you can just comma separate the values that you would like to focus on. So I'll show you that. We've got a couple of spatial union, or not a couple, but a spatial union available now. So we've always been able to, for a long time, been able to union data sets. But for those of you that love maps, and I love maps, but also wanted to union like shapefiles, for example, we can do that now. So I'll show you those two. Again, we don't have time to show every one of these, but just do some Googling, go to the Tableau site, you'll get some commentary on each one of these things. But these are just specific ones that I kind of wanted to call out. So let's look at the in operator, which a lot of people have been clamoring for. So we need to go to, I've created a special project folder here underneath my demo site, or our Tableau demo site. So 2020.3, and we'll load up our in operator example. And this data set came from some public health records around COVID, which is very macabre. But there's a lot of images on there out there, and we certainly throughout the spring we're showing a lot of sort of COVID type dashboards. But essentially what we have is a case count somewhere around the spring, I think April-ish, by province. So a use case might be wanting to isolate a section of the country to do that. And there's lots of ways to do that in Tableau, but this is a really quick way, and it's using the in operator that previously was unavailable. So I'm just going to click edit on that, and we will create a calculation. And notice we're doing all of this through the web, which is fabulous. So we'll just call this in operator. I'm not going to subject you to me typing, so I've previously already written this out. State's going to take the place for province. We did some finagling with this data set. But really what we're doing is we're just showing off the Atlantic Canadian bubble. So I think Atlantic Canada is these 4 provinces. I'm from Nova Scotia, I should know. Candy, you should know this too. But then there's the Maritimes, and I think that doesn't include Newfoundland. So
That's
people
correct,
get really upset over that. So just I want to make sure I'm on the right path there. But basically, we're just saying if the province is in these 4 comma separated values, put it into a bucket. Else, just show me the rest. So we'll just click OK on that. We've got a new calculation, and we can drag that over to our rows. And basically, that just isolates everything that's in Atlantic Canada and the rest. So it's a really quick way. This is often used with case statements too. If you're doing case statements, cases and whens, this is a great time saver. So that's kind of cool. You could drag that over and use it, just like other Tableau columns. You could chuck that onto to the color palette, and it's going to denote Atlantic Canada versus the rest of the country. So it's kind of cool. So we will not save that. I have to use that tomorrow as well. And let's take a look at the spatial union function. This is a quick one. I'm going to open up a new Tableau dashboard. And, I was very excited a few releases ago when we were able to actually connect to shapefiles and other spatial data. It was a real, for your map nerds, it was a real big step forward. Now we can union these. So a lot of times you're going to see consistent shapefile information, similar columns, comes from multiple states, comes from multiple problems, multiple dimensions. It's the same type of data consistently, but it's just different files. I see it all the time. So we can now union this. So I'm just going to go grab some shapefiles that have some state county information just really quickly to show you. So we'll grab that shapefile, expose that to Tableau. Tableau is going to read the underlying metadata, and in that folder, expose the other shapefile. Just like every other union, I drag this over on top, drop it onto the union tab. We'll combine that information together. We'll update that. Tableau is going to query that information, pull it back. And now we can go build our viz, which is really super quick with a shapefile. We'll double click on geometry, and it is going to render those shapes for us. So we have 2 distinct shapefiles. We've unioned them together to be one. You've got Washington data, California data, and you can dimensionalize this just by dragging another field down. And then when you hover over this information, you're looking at various counties. So that's pretty cool for you map people. Again, in the spirit of productivity, which a lot of this innovation is delivering value on. That's a pretty cool feature. Okay, so those are 2 things from an authoring point of view that are awesome. Lots of excitement and a lot of uptick, I would say, over the last 2 or 3 releases on augmented analytics. So whether you're using Ask Data to help with the way humans talk and the way you have conversations with your cube mates to ask questions about your business, being able to do that with Tableau by typing it in, natural language questioning, or whether you're using Tableau to help tell you things you don't know around Explain. So Explain Data is a feature that sort of digs into the data, analyzes other dimensions associated with the visualization that you're looking at, and looks for things using statistical analysis behind the scenes to surface info that you might want to further explore. So there's a lot of innovation coming out around that, and there's a lot of people using that these days. So think of your people that aren't analytically savvy, probably nobody on this call, but your directors that don't want to build vizzes, they just want to ask questions. These types of things really help out there. So I'll show you an Ask Data improvement, which I really love, that really helps you allow the user to ask the questions the way a human would. So as we continue to refine this, it continues to get more comfortable for users to take advantage of. So I'll just go back to my folder here, which is there. I've got a data set in here. And I want to ask some questions. I want to use Ask Data to ask some questions. And previously you had to kind of know a little bit about the syntax that Ask Data wanted you to ask the question in. And so we've refined that a little bit. So what I can do is, you've always had the plus button here. So these are questions that Tableau surfaces for you to ask and sort of help guide you. You can customize your own as well. So if I just hit the Ask Question button, what you can do, and I'm going to copy this from a piece of paper that I have here, is this is the way a human would ask it. Hey, what's the average profit for each state? That's what I would say to my cube mate. But you need to tell Tableau the way that Tableau needs to ask it under the covers. So I think this is a real nice, I'll meet you halfway and still get the result that you want. So Tableau wants to ask it this way: average profit. And then I think it would be by state. By state. Yeah. So that's the way Tableau needs to send it back. So we could save that now. And then, this is more sort of human, not robot, not artificial intelligence or natural language processing. So I could just click this button and Tableau goes out, and if you're just somebody that just needs a quick question asked, you can see in a nice visual manner the profit by each state using all these visual attributes, pre-attentive attributes to answer your question. So that's fabulous, and that's a real nice tweak to be able to put a human touch to this, I think. Okay, just have about 10 minutes left, so I want to save a little bit of time for questions, but just go through a couple really cool things just almost in a rapid fire manner. As a consumer, I talked about trying to engage the the everyday user, not just to view the visualization, but what else can I do with that? And over time, you've seen that in that top toolbar of Tableau, all these new features that are available to the user. So some of the ones I want to highlight: there's a new Shared With Me. So welcome to 2010. We can actually share content with other people. There's a bucket now that says Shared With Me when you log into Tableau, so I'll show you that. Exporting data. We can do it in PDF, we can do it in PowerPoint, we can do it in a variety of manners. You can now do it in a crosstab in Excel. So that makes a lot of people in Excel land happy. There's some PDF subscription improvements around being able to see things in landscape manner. I'm not going to show you that. This one's great. It's got a really great use case. So being able to run the subscription based on the data refreshing. So previously, there's a lot of ways to deliver this to me every day, every week, every whatever. But sometimes it's stale. There's, I don't really need it. It hasn't changed since the last time I've seen it. So now when the data changes, you can actually push the subscription out. So it's a nice new feature. So I'll show you a couple of those real quick. Just move this guy over. So there's a button here now called Shared With Me. You can see that when you log in. You'll see that in the version, which is 2020.3. So if I went back to my folder structure here and logged into a set actions dashboard that I built, it's great interactivity. So this is something that, as a consumer, I can engage with the data. It's not just static. I can look at the summary amount of sales for all of these states, or I can actually click on specific ones and have this deaggregate and then show the aggregate values particularly for these ones. So that's a pretty cool feature. If I wanted to share that with my colleague, I could just say, you know, share this with Jeff, and we could also share it with Kirk because he's on the server. And yeah, simple as that. It's kind of like, you know, every other social media platform that you use. You want to share some funny cat videos, I can do that too. And now when we go back to the Explore tab and hit shared with me, I shared that 10 seconds ago, and you can see that that is available for me. So that's great. If I go back to my 2020.3 project, here is a visualization that I built way back in the spring that shows you a nice interactive. It was just about the time when Viz animations came out, and it was kind of cool, you know, to be able to see. Well, not cool. It was engaging to see, in this case, the different cases over time by health region in Alberta, and that's what this visualization is showing you. And you know, day by day, we can build this out in front of us and make you know, certain decisions based on that. One of the things that you can do now, just pause this, is you can download this information and you can dump the data into a cross tab. So you couldn't do this before. You could do a CSV. Now you can dump it into Excel, and we could just hit download, and that's going to open that information up. This is probably not the best viz to show that because it's going to take almost a point in time screen capture of the values based on the animation page. But point is, if you've got data, you know, you can capture it in a cross tab in Excel. So that's great. The other thing that I'll just show you really quickly is there's also the ability to use these buttons. So if I open this dashboard up, I've put a crosstab button on here. So sometimes people don't like to expose all of this information, this way that users can engage with different dashboards, like look at the data details, look at the views of the dashboard, all this great metadata that we can surface to users. But if that wasn't there, or you were delivering it into an intranet or embedding it in some way, you can actually use a button that's available, and you could download this. So you can use an image, or you can use a standard Tableau button, and I could just hit this. So this is a way to allow the user to do it a different way. It's just a different option. Tableau can always do everything twice different ways. So that's an option for you too if you want to use the button. Some people use images here. I just use the standard button. Okay. Okay, we're tight for time, so and I want to make sure everybody gets out of the session in time for some food. Wanted to talk a little bit about stale content. Stale content is when you get into enterprise land, your Tableau server just has an unbelievable amount of content on it. We're no different here. This is a demo server that we use here at Tableau, and there's just a lot of content on here that never gets used. It's sort of, you know, like we build it, we get great insight from it. I'm sure that's happened to you, and you kind of move on. You don't use it again. So if you take a look at the site status tab for 2020.3, you'll notice there's a new stale content administration view, which is great. When I click the stale content view, it's going to surface some visualizations based on time that have not been used before. So I've got one here, an explain data demo that I did back in June. And if you click on that, you can actually tag it. And if I tag it, it tags itself as stale content. And there's a multitude of use cases that you can do now to leverage that tag. You can search on it. You can use things like server management add-ons, which has a content manager migration tool to go search. To the content migration tool can actually search on tags and move data off of your site if it's not being used. So that's up to your own process, you know, how you define stale. But in this case, if I go to that, I can click that button here, and I can either mail the owner and go, hey, are you still using this? If you are, I'll leave it. You can navigate to the content, which is on the site. And if I take a look and hover over that, you'll notice it has a stale content tag on it. And if you were to search on this, if I just go back to Explore and just hit stale content, everything with that tag will show up. So this is a really great housekeeping way to sort of keep that server a little bit clean and in check. So loving that. You know, if you're an enterprise shop and you've got a lot of dead content out there, this is a great feature for you. One more just before we take a pause, and it's kind of one of my favorite. I don't know why, but I love it. I'm going to open up a viz that I built to show off parameter action. So if anybody, that's not the one I wanted. One sec here. There we go. This one. This one. Okay. So this was a visualization that I built to show off how parameter actions work. So parameter actions, again, a great way for a consumer or a viewer to be able to interact with the data and dig into it instead of just viewing statically. So in this case, I've just, you know, this data, these like interaction components, they may not be in the data. I just build them. So that's the great thing about parameter actions is it doesn't have to be in the data. You can just create it and then make these things, these objects work with your data. So in this case, I wanted a user to have the ability to view my sales, let's say, over various periods of time. So I could view it by week, I could view it by year, view it by day, I could view it by month. But there was never any sort of like reset button. So now there's a clear button that's built into this. So if I click outside of the parameter action, so I'm on week, if I click outside of it, it'll reset to a parameter value of your choice, which in this case, I selected month. So if I just hit escape, or I click outside the parameter action, the viz will reset itself. There we go. So it resets itself to the month level. And that's just a real simple fix. If we just go to, here's our viz, I authored this, and you select your sheet. These are the values that we created. And if I go to dashboard, actions, there's my parameter action. Click edit. And there's a new setting down here that says when you clear the selection, you will go back to the default value, in this case, of the month. So it's a great way, especially when you have a lot of values and you want the user to toggle back and forth, you know, to sort of almost do a reset on that. So that's a lot of information. Really quickly, just before I take any questions, if we still have time, I will share this deck with you. There are a few notes at the end around resources. So there's a few videos. There's the new features tab, which if you Google pace of innovation, you'll find. And then there's some e-learning capabilities out there that you can leverage to get yourself up to speed on 2020.3. By the time you do that, we'll probably be very close to 2020.4. You're about to see some really cool things happen from an innovation and release and roadmap features with respect to Tableau Conference in a couple of weeks. So we're very excited. We're excited to deliver this release to you in a very challenging time, and I hope you all enjoy it. So I'll pause there and see if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, Roland has a question. Any new cool chart options?
I wouldn't say any sort of default chart options. I think a lot of the new chart options that I see are like our first two speakers that had created their own charts just through their own imagination and the ability for the product to visualize things the way that you build it. But there are no new charts, you know, in Show Me, for example, or anything like that.
Well, I love this. This was really, really great, Jeff. And personally, the in operator I'm really excited about, and the stale content. Ooh, I can't wait to show that off tomorrow during my workday.
Don't tell them. Say you stayed up all night to get rid of it, to clean the server up.
No, it's too exciting. These are really cool features that are coming up. I'm really stoked for us to be able to play with them more. And enjoy them. So thank you for taking the time to really share them with us.
My pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, I think the noodles are really, I know it's controversial, but.
It is a bit controversial.
So Roland said stale users too. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, instead of, so if it's, can you identify stale users as well as stale content, or just the content at this point?
There are other ways to identify stale users, but you will have to take that one offline. Not in this sort of GUI interface.
Okay.
I think these ones take advantage of the tags and just really quick, the one thing I didn't show on here was tagging as the catalog, the Tableau catalog, which essentially contains all the underlying metadata of all the workbooks and projects and dashboards that you have. If you have the data management add-on, you can really surface that information and help people use the search tab to search on things. So that tagging capability is becoming very powerful in terms of being able to, if you look at the lineage on a data source like Superstore, I can go to the table and click on the orders tab. You'll notice that we can tag the content or the catalog information. So here I just typed in table tag, but you could go search on that and it would surface this information. You can also tag the columns that are associated with a table as well. So, being able to tag information and interact with the metadata so people can find things a lot easier is getting more and more powerful as well.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Great. Yeah, no, I guess I was in the middle of saying, like, I think the noodles is really powerful, although I know it's controversial, and I think it takes people a little bit to get their head around, but I mean, that's part of the reason why I use Tableau Prep is because I think it's like more visual and I can kind of wrap my head around joins and unions there, but the noodle just makes it more visual to me, but anyway. Yes. So that's what I'm excited about, but
very cool.
Yeah. Awesome. So if there's no other questions.
Then we'll wrap it up. Everyone, thank you for your time this evening and of course for listening and participating with your questions. I've really enjoyed today's tug and I hope you have as well. We will have our next meeting on November 4th as a TC20 wrap-up meeting. Just as a very, very friendly reminder, if any of you are interested in participating with that by showcasing your most enjoyed content from TC20 and speaking for a couple of minutes on your experience, please don't forget to reach out to any one of the Toronto Tug team. We'll be gathering a list of our most esteemed community and getting it settled. We might also have a moment there for a virtual cocktail as well, just to help wrap us up from an incredible should-be conference-ish. With that, take it easy, gang. Have a wonderful evening. Go eat some dinner if you haven't already. And for everyone who participated by presenting this evening, you all are amazing. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.